谢谢大家. I'm Darren Byler. I'm a professor at the University of Washington. I do research in Xinjiang, in northwest China, with Uighurs. It's a Turkic Muslim minority that live in that region. That's their homeland. I want to start by taking us back to 1989, on May 18. A young man named Uighur met with the premier, the leader of China, named Li Peng, in the Xinjiang room in the Great Hall of the People. He was there with a few other student activists, and they were meeting with him to try to resolve what was happening. They had just been in the middle of their hunger strike. They had just come from the hospital. He was dressed in his hospital gown. And when Li Peng walked into the room, he apologized for coming late. And he was talking, and Uighur Kaishi spoke up. He interrupted him, and he spoke with his hand like this in a rhythm, saying, "You not only came late today, but you've come too late altogether." And that was him really standing up, speaking truth to power. Of course, in the end, the state did crack down on them, but in that moment, the students had the upper hand. And there's video of this that circulated widely. Of course, in China, they're not able to watch it, but in northwest China, in the Uighur region, they had heard this story. Uighur Kaishi, his name in Uighur is Urkesh. He is Uighur. He was one of the only minority leaders in that group of student leaders. Many Uighurs, young Uighurs that I met during my research in northwest China talked about Urkesh and his passion, his ability to speak back to power, his concern with civil disobedience, and they also wanted to follow in that path. Today, that path is almost completely blocked. Most Uighurs have no access to speaking any sort of truth to power. Over the last 2 years, I've lost around 30 of my friends to the re-education camps. These are young, college-educated people, scholars, intellectuals, poets, artists, any profession you can think of, they've been taken. The Chinese state is really targeting a certain group of Uyghurs. They've taken around 1.5 million of people they deem untrustworthy and sent them to these re-education camps. But they're mostly young men and young women between the ages of 20 and 30. They're targeting a particular generation of Uyghurs in order to replace and systematically transform Uyghur society. They've also separated the children from their parents, sending them to re-education boarding schools, which they call Cherish Heart Centers, kindness centers. They talk about this as a process of giving something to the Uyghurs by helping them to replace their society with a new one. Why is this happening? The Uyghur region is home to lots and lots of natural resources. 20 to 30% of Chinese oil and natural gas. 80% of Chinese cotton comes from this region, and so there's lots of economic incentives to go into this region. The Chinese state is using the rhetoric of the war on terror, which started here in the United States, and now attaching it to this entire population of people, the Uyghurs, and saying that they are proto-terrorists, and that by taking them to these camps, they're going to head off any form of terrorist insurgency. There have been violent incidents in the past that have involved Uyghurs, but in general, they're very small, and it's a very small part of the population of people that have been actually involved in those attacks. And so the state is really just taking American rhetoric and amping it up, using it to target a whole population. So that's what I want to tell you. This is what's happening to Uyghurs. It's happening right now. They're in camps where they're asked to praise Xi Jinping, praise the Communist Party before they're given a meal. There's all kinds of psychological torture that's associated with the process that they're going through. If they don't participate in the programs, they can be punished by being placed in stress positions, being placed in isolation, being forced to eat pork, which goes against their religion since they are Muslim. All these forms of torture and terror that is being visited on these people. And it's not just the people in the camps. Everyone outside of the camps are afraid of being sent to the camps. Everyone knows about the camps. Everyone has a relative or family member, a friend that's being sent to the camps. So what can you do about this? Well, there's a bill in Congress that just passed through the committee. It's now being sent to the Senate for consideration. It's called the Uyghur Human Rights Bill of 2019. You can urge our senators here in Washington State to support this. Marie Cantwell and Patty Murray have not yet, so urge them to support that. If you're interested in the presidential election, you can petition the person that you're rooting for to talk about this as part of their foreign policy platform. Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Pete Buttigieg have already started to talk about the Uyghur issue as an important part of their consideration when it comes to Chinese foreign policy. So do that as well. You can also, if you're a Washington State employee, you can petition the people that are in charge of your retirement fund to divest from technology that is being used to surveil the Uyghurs. Right now they are. It's an investment fund called Silver Lake. Ask your people, the people in your administration if you're in a union, teachers union, what have you, to divest from this fund. Tell all your friends about what's happening to the Uyghurs. It's important that this become mainstream. Most people don't know who the Uyghurs are. They're a Turkic, stateless group. They're Muslim and they feel really far away. They don't have a lot of international coverage. So keep talking about them and bring it up with all of your friends. Thank you so much.